Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and welcome to the NFL Dream, where on this episode, we're going to go to the NFC North, and we're going to travel all the way to Chicago, Illinois, the team for this episode. Let me know in the comments, who do you think will have the best record in the NFC? Not the NFC North, the NFC. And while you're down there, like the video and subscribe. Share the video. It's all free. Let's help us out. Let's go. It helps us out, all of them. And thank you. Looking at the free agent signings for the Chicago Bears, they made some nice signings, especially on the offensive line. That's what I really noticed. Drew Dahlman, the center, signed a 3-year, $42 million contract providing veteran experience. I'm reading this off here, so that's why it sounds a lot. That's why I'm describing it that way, I should say. Jonah Jackson, I believe. Now he is reuniting with Ben Johnson. We will get into Ben Johnson momentarily. Joe Thuney, they traded for him, which I'm still surprised that Thuney was even traded. I thought he was the best offensive lineman outside of Trey Smith the Chiefs had. So I was like, why are you trading him away? It just didn't make sense to me. But that helps the Bears out a ton. So that offensive line got a lot better via trades, via some moves by Ryan Poles. Quarterback's Case Keenum, who is a good backup. Like, that's a good thing to have. Devin Duvernay, the wide receiver, he brings special teams value, but he's also a good slot receiver, so that benefits them a lot. And Nick McLeod was another signing they had that bolsters their cornerback room. We will talk about, they lost a lot of pieces on that offensive line, on that defense, and in that cornerback room. They had to make some adjustments. Olamide Zaccheaus was another wide receiver they picked up. Very similar to DJ Moore, in my opinion. Not exactly the same, but very similar. Does bring some speed. And he has done it. He was with Washington last year. He was with Atlanta for a long time. I think he fits with what the Bears want to do. I'm just concerned how he's going to play, because sometimes he's hit or miss. Some in-house signings, they were able to retain Josh Blackwell, the cornerback. Amon, I believe it's pronounced Ogambamia. If not, I apologize. Offensive lineman Doug Kramer and tight end Steven Carlson. So, okay. Not too bad. Some of the draft picks they kept or they made were surprising, but not overly shocking, if I could say it like that. Because the first move, they selected Colston Loveland in the first round, which I think everyone, including myself, was shocked by that, because I think we all penciled in Tyler Warren would be the first tight end. For Colston Loveland to be the first one who, he's not really a wide receiver in the sense he's not a guy who's going to go out with passes. He's more of a blocker, which I'm like, you kind of have that. But I guess I'm looking at it from saying, okay, there's a certain level of guy and character that they're looking for. I was still surprised, even though saying that, I'm still surprised that Tyler Warren didn't go first. Next up was Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri. He went in the second round, and that surprised me a lot too. I didn't think he was going to last that long. I thought there was 4 receivers, and I thought Luther Burden was the 4th receiver. I thought Matthew Golden was good, but I thought those guys are all going to go in the first round, and Luther Burden will go in the first round. And that didn't happen. And I was surprised he was still there, even though he only lasted, 7 picks into the second round. Like, I was surprised he was there. It just surprised me. It still shocks me a little bit. But that's a good player that they got. He'll create a good level of impact for them in year 1. I believe it's pronounced Ozzy Tropulo, but it might be Chupulao. The offensive tackle from Buffalo. He was also selected in the second round. The Bears had 3 second-round picks. They traded multiple picks for other players and all that, and for other picks in this round and in this draft and in the next draft and all that kind of stuff. Chipulo or Chipulao, depending on how you want to say it, from Buffalo. He's an offensive tackle. You lack depth there because as we get into the pieces you had lost were all offensive linemen, linebackers. Very direct point. Also in the second round, Shamar Turner was selected with the 62nd overall pick. Also from Buffalo. He's a defensive tackle. It felt like, looking through it, because they went like 4 straight picks from round 2 to round 5. They selected everyone from Buffalo. It felt like they just took the entire roster, copied it, and put it on there. So that's what it was like. Turner's got some good size, and he does have a little bit of a push. But you have defensive tackles are hard to, how do I say this? I'm trying to develop, I guess, especially when you have a guy who went to Buffalo and not to a bigger school, because it's harder to see if they're a good player or not. You're trusting what you're seeing is what they are all the time. And that's for every school. That's not just a small school stuff, but it's on a big school stuff, you have a much larger scale. In the 4th round, because they didn't have a 3rd round pick, Ruben, I believe it's pronounced Hippolyte. He's a linebacker from Buffalo. Again, we will get into it. They lost a lot of key people, including a couple starters. In the 5th round, Zah Frazier, the cornerback from Buffalo. We'll get into that more with the losses of cornerbacks that they lost, I guess, in free agency. Luke Newman, the offensive guard. I don't know why they list the Los Angeles Rams here, but they did. So that's a problem. But that was a big move they made. You have to admit that. They needed some offensive guard help as some depth pieces left. You got to get it. That depth was very important. You lost some, you have to get it back somehow. The last pick in the 7th round, Kyle, I think it's pronounced Mongani, the running back from Cincinnati. Okay, 7th round, not going to really say anything. Even if he's not a top level prospect, you're not going to say him. I think obviously the easiest answer of how did the Bears win the offseason? They brought in Ben Johnson. You didn't just take someone from the Bears. You took out probably the best head coaching candidate. Not just from a rival, but you took it. The Bears took someone from the Lions. You took something big from a rival team to select, and you did it in a way that really helped the team out. Because you selected him, but you interviewed like 20 more guys, 25 more guys, knowing that that's the guy you want, but he is still coaching right now. We can't make it look like we're only hovering him. We have to interview everybody. So they did. Most teams don't do that. We say that. We said that about a few teams actually on this channel, what teams just don't do that. The Bears did. And then when he was no longer coaching for that team because the team's game was done, he got the job in the next 2 days. That's what happened. It was a great job by the Bears. Now, they did lose some pieces. Some of them were starters. Some of them were just good rotational guys. Some of them were even just depth pieces. Darrell Taylor, I believe it's pronounced Darrell, but it might be Darrell Taylor. Let's say Darrell for now. He went to the Texans. Coleman Shelton went to the Rams. He's a center. Linebacker Jack Sanborn went to the Cowboys. He also played meaningful snaps. A lot of these top 3 played very meaningful snaps, including Jake Martin, who's an edge rusher. He went to the Commanders. They played very meaningful snaps, so you have to replace that, as everyone knows. Tevin Jenkins went to the Browns. He's been fine in his NFL career, but he has been a starter for you at times, so you don't like seeing him go. Larry, I believe it's pronounced Bowen. He went to the Dolphins. Matt Pryor went to the Eagles. Those were both tackles, so you lost those pieces. And then you lost DeAndre Carter to the Browns, who was a special teams ace for you. That's your special teams ace. That's what you miss so much, is that you lost your special teams ace. That's why you brought in Devin Duvernay. So you don't lose that again. You have some guy who can do this, because it's very hard. It's a very hard position to play. Not everyone can play special teams, but if you can do it, you're very valuable to the team. This team went 5-12 last year. They won 29% of their games, 29.4% to be exact. They were awful, and it went bad, and it went bad quick. They kept Eberflus around for 2024, because at the end of 2023, they won like the last month and a half of games. They were one of the better teams in the league. And they started this year pretty good. They had a good attitude. Like, when you're not throwing the ball on them, it's not going to happen. And that was a great attitude to have. And then after the game against the Commanders, where that Hail Mary happened from Jaden Daniels to Noah Brown, it fell apart. It just fell apart so fast. It was like all the confidence was gone. Everything was gone. It was bad. And everyone saw it. We all saw it in real time. And that was a scary thing. That was a scary thing to see. For Bears fans, for NFL fans, because we all saw it. And then they just couldn't win. They were 4-5 at home. They were 1-7 on the road. They would have been 1-8. They beat Green Bay at the last game of the year. That was the first time they beat Green Bay in Green Bay. You have to go all the way back to 2018. 6 years to the month. That's terrifying to think about if you're a Bears fan. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. Because it was bad. It was bad. You couldn't win in Green Bay for 6 years. 6 meetings, 6 times you faced each other in Green Bay. You have not been able to win that. Like, that's not a good thing to think about, okay? That is just not a good thing. Really think about it. Okay? It's just not. I'm curious to see what happens. But that team went 5-12. Looking at their schedule for 2025. Actually, let's continue on the Eberflus stuff first. They kept Eberflus around because Eberflus, they won the last 6 games. So they said, okay, it's working, let's keep him around. So they did. They had those 2 games. They played the Commanders. They lost. After that, it fell apart. And then the Thanksgiving Day debacle of how they were unable to call a timeout. And all that blame goes to Eberflus. And rightfully so. It should. It also does deserve to go to Caleb Williams as well. Even though he's a young quarterback, he should know the situation. So yes, there's bad coaching. There's bad clock management, which every coach has bad clock management. Okay, everyone. It's a game that's based on it, basically. So there was bad clock management on Eberflus's part, but also on Caleb Williams' part. We gotta call it like I see it. We gotta call it like we see it. Caleb Williams had blame in that game too, at that end. To ask a guy, wide receiver, to run 30 yards, then after a sack, which is not, you don't take sacks, that's what they tell you. Do not take a sack. He took a sack. When they were asking that receiver who ran 30 yards to run back 30 yards, to then get reset, to not spike the ball, but to make another snap happen, to have another snap. So which I'm probably going to do it again from a farther distance. That's a problem. That was the problem. And everyone saw it. You can blame Eberflus, and they did. But that is Caleb Williams also. That was Caleb Williams also, and no one trying to help out the rookie. No one was trying to help out the head coach. No one was trying to help out the rookie. That tells me they thought it was already a loss. So therefore, why should they even attempt? That was on them. Now, to the schedule for 2025. Home for Minnesota. They start playing on a Monday night. That's a 8:15 game. That's on ABC and ESPN. At Detroit, home for Dallas, at the Raiders. Early bye week. I hate the early bye weeks. You know I hate the early bye weeks. It messes up the players because they're not injured and they already have a week off. But then it means they got to play 13 straight games. You got to play 12 to 13 straight games. That's hard. That is very hard. Anytime you got to do that, anytime you got to do more than 10, it's difficult. When you got to do 13 games straight, it's very challenging. They come back from the bye week. They're at Washington. That's a Monday nighter. They're home for the Saints. They're at Baltimore. They're at Cincinnati. They're home for the Giants. They're at Minnesota. Home for Pittsburgh. And then they travel to Pennsylvania to face the Eagles. They're at Green Bay. Also, the Eagle game, that is the week. That's the day after Christmas. That's the week. Oh, not the day after Thanksgiving, my bad. The day after Thanksgiving, that's the game on Prime Video. So who knows how much is watching that? That's at 3 o'clock, by the way. At Green Bay, December 7th. Home for Cleveland. Home for Green Bay. They play Green Bay twice in 3 weeks. At San Francisco on the 28th of December. That's a Sunday night. And then they finish off the year home for Detroit. The game against Green Bay where they're home for, by the way, is a Saturday. So they have a Saturday game and then they have a Sunday nighter. Okay, we're back. So they have a Saturday game and then they have a Sunday nighter on December 28th. And then they're home for Detroit. That one's to be determined. So with all saying that, what is their record this year? Well, this is the team that went 5-12 last year. I think they're going to be better, but how much? I think the record's going to be 7-10. I think they're going to be better. I still think they're going to be fourth in their division, but I think they're going to be better. I think Caleb Williams will look better. I think the team will look better. I think Ben Johnson will look really good as a head coach. I just think they're going to only win 7 games this year because of all the other variables in their division, the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers, respectfully. But let me know in the comments, how many games do you think the Bears are going to win? And like I said in the beginning of the video, who is going to have the best record in the NFC? Let me know in the comments. For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hebert, out.